Mr. Harrison, thanks for being here. Can we just go back to the Federalist for a moment, please, just to clarify something that you said to Senator Lee? So do I understand it now that you have a content moderation requirement in order to access Google's ad platforms? Is that right? Is that your testimony?
No.
Because the Federalist they didn't moderate their content section, and what you're saying is you require them now to engage in moderation in order to have access to your platforms. Is that right?
Our ads policy is that our ads will not show up against harmful, offensive content. That's the requirement. If they want to show our ads next to their content, then that content can't be harmful or offensive.
So in other words, they have to moderate it, right? I mean, because what they didn't moderate their content at all. I mean, this isn't even their content; it's third-party content, and they just didn't moderate it at all. Which, under the terms of Section 230. They are perfectly entitled to do, but you're saying now that in order to have access to your arguably monopoly ad platform, they have to engage in content moderation, and they have to do it apparently according to your standards. Is that accurate? Will you tell us what the standards are that the Federalist and other sites have to meet, the content moderation standards?
Yeah, so apologies if I wasn't clear earlier, but they had three choices. They could choose not to show ads. They could choose to moderate, or they could choose to put their commentary behind a wall and not show advertisements against that. So no, we weren't requiring them to moderate. We gave them options on how to change in order to allow our ads to show up next to their content.
Okay, so basically their choices were modify their site according to your standards in one of two ways. Either modify their site to hide a comment section which they did not moderate. It's not their content, it's third-party content. They didn't moderate it, but they either had to hide that section, put it behind a wall, you just said, or they have to engage in content moderation according to your standards. I think your testimony was a moment ago you're willing to help them do that. You're willing to help them engage in this content moderation. Is that right?
Senator, the comments here that we're talking about were highly racist comments. I think anyone's...
But they weren't the Federalist comments, right? I'm just trying to get at what it is you are requiring sites, especially small sites like the Federalist, compared to your massive sites like YouTube. What do they have to do to access your ad platform? And what I think you said, which I think is news, is that they have to engage in content moderation, and they have to do it according to standards that you have, although I don't think any of us know what they are. I think it would be useful if everybody knew what those standards are, and so I wonder if you'll commit to me today and this committee that you'll publish those content moderation standards that you expect sites to meet if they're going to access your ad platforms. Will you do that?
Senator, again, I'm happy to share our ads policies with you that make it clear that we will not show ads next to offensive, misleading, disturbing content. Those policies are published and clear, and websites can, I think they're already online, but I'm very, very happy to share them with your office. Again, we did not require the Federalists to adopt content moderation. We gave them options on how to make sure that our ads could show up next to their content that didn't violate our policies, that wasn't offensive.
Yeah, it's an as Senator Lee pointed out, it's extraordinary market power that would enable you to do something like this, to basically call the tune for a small independent publisher's construction of their site, to design moderation policies for third-party content that they don't monitor or use, and yet you are able to do this and to force them to adopt these sorts of policies or effectively cut off their revenue stream. That's extraordinary. Let's talk a little bit about your market dominance in this space since we're on the subject. Now, Google operates a publisher ad server. Is that correct? Several.
That is right.
And Google operates a supply-side platform as well. Is that correct?
We do. We offer platforms on both the publisher side and the advertiser side.
Okay, right. So you operate a demand-side platform also, correct?
That's correct.
And you operate advertiser ad servers too, correct?
That is correct.
Right, okay. And the UK's Competition and Markets Authority Commission recently found that Google's market share in all of those layers of the ad stack is dominant. In the first market, you have a greater than 90% market share. In the second market, between 40 and 60%. In the third, between 50 and 70. In the fourth, over 90. Do you know of any other company that exercises this kind of concentration and dominance across every layer of the ad stack?
First of all, Senator, we have built good products, and I am proud that the publisher ecosystem and the advertiser ecosystem chooses to use those products. A couple things. One, the numbers which talk about ad serving, like specifically ad serving, which is the sort of plumbing of the internet that allows ads to appear on publisher websites, we do have a popular product there, but it doesn't take into account the richness of the entire ecosystem. Many publishers out there choose to provide their own advertising directly. Facebook does this, Amazon does this, TikTok does this, Snap
Yeah,
does
but
this.
they don't provide advertising on the open web. Are you telling me that you think that the UK's Competition Markets Authority statistics are incorrect? I mean, do you dispute these statistics?
I do dispute these statistics. I do think that they use too narrow a market definition in looking at how to construct the market there. And I also don't think they took into account that if we tried to raise prices, and that there were so many other options out there that publishers or advertisers would just flip to one of these other options.
Well, I would be very curious, given that, to hear what you think, what you assess your market share to be in each layer of the ad stack. Would you make that available to this committee?
Senator, I'm very happy to cooperate with you with anything we have internally to help you understand how market share works. I just want to make one point. Prices have fallen.
Well, actually, I'm not interested in your instruction on how market share works. I'm interested in your response to the UK's long study about your dominance in each layer of the ad stack. So I'll take that as a yes. We'll look forward to those statistics. Next, let's talk about your dominance in search and whether or not how you're using your dominance in search and actually in video and YouTube as well to help give you dominance in the ad stack. It's true that in order to place a display out on YouTube, you have to go through a Google platform. Is that right?
That is correct. In 2015,
and the same for search, right? Is it the same? If I want to put an ad in search, I've got to go through a Google platform. Is that correct?
Like many companies, we sell our owned and operated inventory directly through our channels. Many other companies do this as well.
And you control 92% of the market approximately for search. Does that sound right?
No, I don't agree with that at all. I think when people search for things, sometimes they use our product, which is a general search engine, but more often they use many other types of apps and experiences to find what they're looking for. I'll just make one point about commercial searches. We would love it if people came to our website when they wanted to buy a car or when they wanted to buy a bike or when they wanted to buy, in California right now, it's about buying air purifiers and detecting air quality, but they go to Amazon more often than they go to us. As a matter of fact, 70% of commercial queries start with a website other than Google.
So, well, I'm talking about, I understand that you would like, under your universal search aspirations, you would like every search in the world to be conducted via the Google platform. But when it comes to assessing markets, your aspirations and market definition are different things. And I'm simply quoting to you the statistics that other authorities, including the UK authority, have found when they assess your dominance in the online search market. But again, if you have a different number, you can share that with us. I think you control 75% of the market for online video platforms. Here's my point. It looks like in order to advertise, in fact, it's true that in order to advertise on either of those dominant platforms, you have to use a Google ad platform. That gives you an enormous advantage in this ad stack that you control every single layer of. People come to you on the supply side and on the demand side because you control so much inventory, so much space, and also because you have so much data which you have collected through your consumer-facing applications like Gmail and search, for that matter, G Suite, etc. So aren't you using your monopolies in search and in video in order to boost and maintain a monopoly in the ad space as well?
No, I think the right way to look at whether a market is functioning is to ask yourself, are there lots of competitors? Are there lots of choices? Are prices falling? And I think when you look at online advertising, not only the search for information, but online advertising, you'll see that there are a lot of companies that are doing very well. You have, and I know I touched on this in my opening statement, but you have large companies like Amazon. Amazon's supply side platform over the last 3 years has grown so that it is bigger than ours. You have small companies like the Trade Desk and Rubicon that have grown immensely in market value over the last few years. That is because all of these companies are able to participate in either broad parts of the ad tech and online advertising or narrow parts of it, and they're able to use whatever advantages they have in order to produce a competing product to ours. there is no lack of formats for people to advertise today, whether it's on mobile, whether it's connected TV, whether it's on the web, and there are no lack of companies, including new companies like TikTok, which are becoming very popular in terms of giving people new inventory to advertise against. I don't agree that there isn't choice.
If I could just ask the indulgence of Senator Klobuchar for can I ask just two more questions?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Let me just come back to the issue of transparency that Senator Lee was asking about a moment ago. When Google itself participates by buying or selling on the auction, does Google disclose what it made to either party during that transaction?
We have contracts with advertisers where advertisers can see what fees that they pay, and we have contracts with publishers so the publishers can understand what fees they pay. So there is transparency. They know how many dollars they have put out in the market, and they know how many pennies they have gotten back.
But they know. So is your answer yes? They know what when Google itself. I'm asking you about you because Google, you buy and sell on the auction, and you do it on both sides. You do it on the supply side and on the demand side. I'm asking you, when you buy and sell on the auction, do you disclose to the parties you represent what you paid?
Senator, I'm not. Again, we have a series of.
Let me ask you a different way. Do your clients know how much money Google makes from transacting in the auction?
Well, one of the reasons that we published the blog that we published, and I'm happy to share that with you as well.
You can tell me here since you're under oath. It's much more interesting this way. It's much more interesting to do it under oath. So tell me here, explain it to us.
Yeah. I'm sorry, if you are a publisher and you make inventory available, you know what you've charged for that inventory. You know what you've received for that inventory.
Do they know what Google makes? I'm asking you, do your clients know what you make from the transactions? You buy and sell on both sides of the same transaction because you control the entire ad stack. You control the whole thing. You control the exchange. You control the buying and the selling. So you buy and sell ostensibly representing other clients. I just want to know, do your clients know how much you have made in a given transaction when you're buying and selling on both sides?
So if it is a publisher that is making their inventory available, they are aware of how much they both received for the value of their inventory and how much they paid to us and to other members of the chain by which advertisements are sold.
But they don't know what you made. They don't know what you made. The value of the transaction to you. You Google. They don't know that, right? You don't disclose that, or do you?
Senator, I'm struggling with the question because I think there are so many pieces of the ad tech chain and so many different people that participate in it because it is an open architecture. You can use our publisher tools, but you can use other advertising tools from other providers. And so it's hard for me to say. Publishers aren't generally aware of what the advertisers paid on that side of the equation. Advertisers aren't generally aware of what publishers paid on that side of the equation. So it isn't fully disclosed the way through, other than in each case you have contracting parties on both sides that have signed agreements with us that make it clear to them exactly how much they're paying to us and how much they're paying to themselves.
Yeah, but the concern is Senator Klobuchar has been extremely indulgent, so I'll end here. But the concern is, and I know you're well aware of this, that because there isn't transparency in this market that you control end to end, you are paying prices, you are making profits that nobody's aware of, and it's hard to get clear on. And so they don't actually know, your clients don't actually know what your role in the transaction is or what profit you're taking away from it because you don't disclose that. And since you control the whole stack and you buy and sell on both sides, you essentially privilege yourselves. With that, I'll yield. Thank you, Senator Klobuchar.